Hey guys, what's going on? I just got a session here from a client and I think this is a perfect time to show off the new UF8 plugin mixer features. And that is a feature where the plugin mixer is being controlled by the UF8 on another layer. So here I have my normal Logic layer for all my tracks from the DAW basically. Could be Ableton, could be Logic, could be Pro Tools, whatever. But I on 3, for example, in my case, I put the plugin mixer. That means on each of these we're gonna display different aspects of the plugin mixer, and that is really cool. Now to my left is also a UC1, and so with the UC1 I can conveniently scroll through these, but in certain instances, just by touching these here, it's very quick to make it's very easy to make quick adjustments. So for example here, I can switch to low cut right away. I can do high cut, but most important thing was starting with the session. Let's start with input gain, and I would, for example, move over here to the kick and then play the session, and yeah, and then just make sure the input gain is good. We're gonna look at the output gain. We're gonna look at all the aspects that we can control very, very quickly. I still think the UC1 is a better way of doing it, but we have this big real estate with the UF8 or 2 UF8s to control this here. So let me, because this is not a project that I want to be sharing online and don't want to get a copyright strike, I'm going to mute it for the purpose of what we're doing. We don't have to hear it, we just have to pay attention. So I'm going to try to comment on everything I'm doing. Well, first of all, this 360, bringing the 360 in and out is a critical part. So one thing I see here in this session is that it's got like the labeling is not very consistent. So let me do that really quickly. Anyways, this is looks pretty organized just by reading what's going on here. We're not going to listen to the session again. Anyways, let's bring up the 360 software by pressing the 360 knob button here. And what comes up is kick, snare, snare 2, claps, toms, hats, heads 2, heads 3, and so forth on that first page. Now, so what's very interesting is that when you work in normal mode, in DAW mode, what you would see is sort of like an opposite situation. And what I noticed is that the meter is on the right hand side and you are limited to 5 characters, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I guess, before it starts doing these weird abbreviations. So this is how it looks in the regular DAW mode. This changes here, they move to the right and we get a little bit more information here. So we're getting the in gain, the out gain, we're getting the meter that is right now the input gain. We can change that to the output gain. If I want to go back to high cut, here I have all my high cuts, so I can very easily adjust those right here. Let's look through the pages first of all. So EQ, E or G. So if you click on this, it's going to tell us which section, which type of EQ this is. EQ, in or out. That's also a very cool thing. Low frequency type, low frequency gain. So it's moving through the entire channel here. That is very cool. So, and as you may know, there are a lot of parameters. Let's keep going here. Compression, release, gate. All these parameters are accessible to us. Groups of 8 very, very easily, right? So that is a good way of doing it. With the UF8, you can of course do that just as quickly, but this bird's eye view is something that is very helpful, and it's helpful for people who do not have a UC1. And that beats by any means, you know, doing this with the mouse like I'm doing it like so. I have to look at it, I have to grab it, I have to find it with the mouse. That mixer is kind of smallish, unless you dedicate a TV to it. So it's a good way of doing that. Let me show you when I go back to the output gain. Output gain brings these here, so we have the faders are set here, and here we go. If I do this, if I just touch the fader, because it's an option that I've selected, it selects it automatically on the UC1, and I can of course also turn this on the UC1 if I needed to. I can also turn it here, so there's different ways of doing this. These parameters, by the way, for example, high cut, they always go down to the faders. You can flip, don't forget that. So if you flip them, you can control them like so, like the high cut. If that is a quicker way for you of doing this, yep, there you go. So also I feel that the display is pretty telling. It gives me the track number, the track name. It shrinks it down. It gives me more space in the track name. And so if I play the session, we see what's going on here, right? All right, so for example, with the kick, I feel like there's a little bit too much input gain coming in. If I decided that, let's bring that down a little bit right here. I see the claps, so I can see all my, I can do my gain staging very, very well. This needs a little bit more. This can need a little bit more, even without listening to it. Mark Daniel Nelson keeps saying he doesn't even listen to the session while setting it up to preserve, to protect from ear fatigue. I think that's a good idea. Certain things you don't have to listen to, and it gets you, a few percent closer to what the end result should be. Let's see. So if I switch then to DAW, it gives me my navigation. Let's see what happens if we're in 360. I don't like that it sometimes switches back to that main window here. Okay, so here we go. Yep, so in order to, here I answered my own questions. If you go into DAW mode, you press 360, it goes to this. That's something I don't understand. But if you're in the layer that hosts the plugin mixer, if you go back and forth, it always comes back to the plugin mixer. So that is interesting. Let's see if, again, if the navigation works. Nope, navigation is disabled. That's interesting. But yeah, it's not communicating with the DAW at that point. So I really do like how they use the different colors. For example, on the in-gain, it gives me a yellow readout. So I feel the display has been improved by quite a bit than when you're in that DAW mode. So probably one thing that we want to do is also to look at the top readout here. So for example, in main vocals, coming in a little bit too hot maybe. And then also just scrolling through these very quickly. I mean, that's pretty awesome. I mean, again, if we go back to here, we want to see low cut. We got to carve out some lows. Boom, 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 right? That's a pretty efficient way of doing it while keeping things in check. I'm scrolling through the session. It's like, oh, look at that. I cut 155 hertz on the guitar. Let me dial that down a little bit. Something like this. Will all depend on how your workflow is, but it is just another view into this ecosystem, and I think it is very helpful to have. I work with the UC1, but even those two play well together. So on the UC1, I have like a zoomed in view, and here I have like a little bit of a more info view. So I'm turning the wheel here on the UC1 from channel to channel. So I'm ending up here on the kick. All right, guys, so the cool feature is I have the UC1 on my left. Whatever I do in the UC1, it follows suit in the plugin mixer, but for all of them. So on the plugin mixer, I want to turn whoop, high cut. Look at that. It goes to high cut everywhere and then allows me to quickly control the high cut, right? Let's just say I want to boost the bass here. I mean, this is like completely, I'm doing it in a very nonsensical fashion. I want to gain the bass. He says, as soon as I touch the frequency knob, it shows me all the frequencies. So I can quickly adjust these. Let's zoom in here. Quickly adjust these here. Grab back on the UC1. Now it's about the gain. controlled again. So you can really quickly work on certain things. Let's just say there's just too much dynamic control. Okay, the threshold needs to be adjusted everywhere. So if I look at the threshold, this brings up all the thresholds immediately like so. So I can do it with this top without the UC1. But just me touching the UC1, doing something on the UC1, and the entire plugin mixer following, that's just insane. All right, so this was just a quick overview. Another functionality that has been added to the UF8.